Hello, hello. Welcome to Media Queen TV. My name is Aldwyn Altuney. We have the amazing Brenda Sheldrake with us all the way from Ontario, Canada. As we say here in Australia, in Canada and in America, I'm sure they would say Ontario. She is an amazing lady. We're going to be talking today about how to generate leads like a rock star. A little bit about Brenda before we chat with her today. She's a contributing author of the best-selling book, Your Number One Habit, or Your One Habit to Thrive in a Post-COVID World. In her chapter, she shares the importance of creating connection. I love that. Connection is where it's at. She's a recipient of the 2022 Women of Worth Award. And as a licensee with Selling on the Spot Marketplace, she hosts online events for entrepreneurs ready to learn and practice new skills. Her approach leads to closed sales and generating money on the spot. Brenda has taken all her experience, put it all together, and is now offering masterclasses titled Linking with Heart Helps You Survive and Thrive in Business. These classes were created to ensure that no entrepreneur went out of business because of a lack of skills. If you're tired of wasting time on meetings that don't convert into sales, then Brenda has the answers for you. We're going to cover those today. And so excited to have you here, Brenda. We'll be giving you more info on how to connect with Brenda, etc. Welcome to Media Queen TV.
Thank you, Aldwyn. I'm really excited to be here.
It's fantastic to have you here, and I could listen to your accent all day. I must say, I just love it, the Ontario accent. And over there, now we've just hit spring here. It's the 2nd of September here on the Gold Coast, and we have hit spring. And I actually went for a swim in the ocean this morning. Would you believe it's absolutely stunning over here? So, what's the weather like over in Ontario at the moment?
Very hot.
Very hot.
We should be approaching fall. We should be approaching the kids going back to school, but it just doesn't feel like it. It feels like the middle of summer.
Really? Wow. Amazing. Whereas in winter there, it gets really cold, doesn't it?
It does. Yes, it does.
So you have 4 distinct seasons over there, whereas here in Australia we have, well, depending which part of Australia, we don't really feel the cold as much. Although we have had a very cold summer, I must say. For a lot of summer was actually quite cold, and winter was particularly cold. So the things are definitely changing. But anyway, enough on the weather. Let's talk more about you. So Brenda, please let us know a little bit of your background. And were you born in Ontario or?
I was, yes. I small town. I live in the big city now, but I grew up in a very small town in kind of southern Ontario. So closer to Niagara Falls for anybody who's ever tourist traveled here, closer to Niagara Falls.
Oh, Niagara Falls. I've only seen the pictures and it looks amazing. So one day on my bucket list, I would love to go over there and come and check that out. That will be amazing. And how did you get into this area of generating leads like a rock star?
Well, I left my job many years ago, and I got involved in one of the direct sales type companies. And for any of you who are in direct sales, at some time you asked how to get more leads, and your upline probably told you to talk to all your friends and family and tell them what you do, and then sell to them, and then get them to refer you. Yes. And I imagine there's some people out there shaking their heads and going, it doesn't work, it doesn't work, it doesn't work. I know it doesn't work.
Yes.
And so I had to develop my own systems. I started developing my own systems.
Got it. And look, I have been in direct sales as well. And I must say, it's a great way to lose your family and friends when all you want to do is sell them your next product, right? And I must say, there's a lot of great products in the direct selling world. However, it's this full-on push. And this is where sales actually, for a lot of people, it's a sleazy term. It's like, people don't like the term sales. And, I truly believe that sales is service. And if something does not suit somebody, then do not sell it. And in fact, you're not even really selling it. You're offering something that could be a solution to someone's problem. That's how I look at sales now. However, for a long time, I thought, rich people are greedy. And, I had all this money mindset stuff around wealth. And, I've now seen a whole lot of amazing entrepreneurs that are doing great for the world. There are, of course, the greedy rich people. There are those, for example, the billionaires, the Rockefellers and Rothschilds, etc., that have got ulterior motives, the Bill Gates of the world. And if you don't know what I'm talking about, check out the documentaries in our Conscious Community Global Facebook group. They will blow your mind. There are certainly certain people that are very wealthy, that are controlling, the vaccine companies, etc. We won't go down that rabbit hole, but there are certain people out there that do not have people's best interests at heart, right? There are some wealthy people that are very greedy. However, there's a lot of amazing social entrepreneurs I've seen that are doing great good for the world. And that's the thing. When you have money, you can help a lot of people. And I think this is a big thing to mention here, Brenda. I think very important, because if you're going to be bringing leads in and you're going to look at converting them to sales, it's important to deal with any money mindset issues you may have. Otherwise, you're not going to do well in this field. Would you agree with that, Brenda?
100%. It's you touched on a really important thing. People who say they're not good at sales. Well, when you're convincing someone that you're not good at sales, you're selling them on the idea that you're not good at sales. So think about how many people you have convinced that you're no good at it. You probably are good at sales. And I would suggest that you just flip the switch a little bit and look at sales more as educating people on things that are good for them, and then providing them with an option for how to find those things.
Yes, absolutely. And we may not be the best option for some people. And in fact, you don't even want to work with everyone. Not everyone is your ideal client, right? And that's the thing, is actually being not attached to whether you work with someone or not. And also, I believe important, you mentioned connection here is a big thing you stand for, and I really don't like the word competition. A lot of people say, oh, we're in competition in business. But really, there's an abundance of wealth out there. There's an abundance of opportunities. You don't need 8 billion clients. You don't need to have everyone on the planet who is a client. Most people just need maybe a handful of clients, or maybe 1,000 to have a very successful business. There's plenty of work out there for everybody. Can you chat a bit more about that, the competition versus collaboration, and versus looking at how we can all work together?
Well, I think that when you're in competition, everybody loses, including your client. Everybody is going to lose. If there's a competition, everyone loses. But when you look at it in collaboration, or when you view the world from an abundance standpoint, I had a conversation like this yesterday with someone. I was saying that when it comes to referrals, I seldom refer to one person. And some people get very offended by that. They're like, what do you mean you only refer to one person? Well, the reason I don't refer to one person is because, as you said, there's millions of people on the planet. And that means that there's millions of different personality combinations. So if I only refer to one person, what I'm risking is that the person I'm referring to is going to miss out on something that would be good for them, simply because they don't resonate with the person I'm referring them to. So if I refer to 2 options, if I say, here, check out Aldwyn and check out John, and watch the videos, or watch what they've done, or go look at their Facebook. I oftentimes say, go look at their Facebook, visit their LinkedIn, look at what they're doing, what they stand for, and then come back and tell me who you feel that you resonate with the most. And I'll introduce you to both of them, or I'll introduce you to one of them, or if neither of them work, then we can keep looking.
Yes, I love that. And, you do a lot of online networking. So, of course, you meet a lot of people. And I do the same. I often say to people, oh, well, this person or that person would be good for you. And that's right. We're not going to resonate with everyone. We're going to have certain connection with certain people. And I think that's a big part of doing business now, is actually, they say, we do business with people that we like, that we trust, and that sometimes comes over time. And this is where a lot more people, I think, are looking for referrals when it comes to leads, and they're doing, word of mouth business. They're looking on Google, they're looking at reviews. This kind of thing is really important as well.
And I think that know, like, and trust have become kind of overused, sort of almost like a cliche. We're all going to create this know, like, and trust factor, but you need to have a system. You need to have a way of creating that. And you need to acknowledge that it's not going to happen in one day. It's not going to happen overnight. If you think about your best friend, they probably were not just instinctively in one night your best friend. And it's the same thing
True.
when you're building these relationships. That's what you're doing, is you're building a relationship.
So true. It's like you don't immediately meet someone and you get married, unless you're on Married at First Sight, of course, unless you're on the TV show. Well, those people do meet and get married straight away. But that is unusual, and that's what makes that show so unique, I guess. But generally speaking, you know, God knows how many of those actually last, to be honest. They probably go on their honeymoon, have a great time away, and then they go, see you later, that was fun, you know, off to the next person.
Yeah.
I'm not cynical in any way around that show. Anyway, um, you know, however, this is the thing, it's you're dating someone. It's like you meet someone, you go on a date, you might have a second date, a third date. Some people wait 6 months before they have sex, you know. I mean, this is the thing, some people wait years. You know, I'm not saying having sex with your clients, but you know, it's a bit like that. It's like you're building a relationship over time, and that's where the trust factor comes in over time. And this is the thing, a lot of people do have trust issues. Why? Because we've been lied to for so long by politicians and by the people that apparently rule the world, this very evil part of the world. We have the yin yang of life, I believe. There's some very evil people out there, and there's some beautiful people, and then we have our light and shadow sides and all that kind of thing, right? So there's always one side and the other side, right? And this is the thing, is what is the other side, and what do you believe to be true that isn't? So when it comes to trust, this is massive now, because also the online scamming industry is worth billions of dollars, right? The number of people scamming people online now, and in the area of love and the area of business, we've seen it again and again. So I think trust is a massive thing. So what are some things, Brenda, we can do to build trust?
Well, I think that one of the most important things is to be your word. So if you book a meeting for a specific time, yes, things happen. But if you book a meeting at a specific time, then make every effort to be there at that time, or to send some kind of a message just saying, you know, something's happened and I'm not going to be there. Another thing is that we don't have to know all the answers. People get deceived into the idea that in order to close sales, they have to be the 100% expert who knows every single answer. Well, sometimes in some areas, your client knows more than you do. Your client isn't going to know more about everything that you know about, but they may know more about some things. And if they ask a question and you don't know the answer, then the appropriate answer to give them is to acknowledge that. You know, that's a really great question, Aldwyn, but I don't have an answer for you right now, but I can get the answer. I know where to get it, and I will get back to you within 48 hours, within 72 hours, or would you like to book another call to follow up on that, to circle back to it? So acknowledge when you don't know, and know what you don't know.
Yes, I think there's some great tips. And I must say, look, I haven't always honored my word, but I think if we don't honor our word, I think the sooner we can clean up, the better. The sooner we can communicate, the better. And I think this is a big thing. Integrity is a sort of ongoing issue, you know, that a lot of people struggle with. And you know, all I know is that when I do honor my word, I feel better about it, and it's really respecting the other person. And when we don't honor our word in life, whatever that may be, whether it's to email someone, phone someone when you say you're going to do it, or whatever it is, it could be the smallest things. It could be something you say to yourself, I'm going to go to the gym this morning, I'm going to get up early and exercise. And then if you don't, how do you feel? You feel crap when you don't do it, but you feel great when you do it, whether it's honoring your own word for yourself or honoring your word for someone else. And this integrity conversation, I think, is massive, because integrity is at the heart of everything we do, and how we end up feeling about ourselves and feeling about others. And I must say, for myself, I've had a bit of a sort of blasé attitude around time. I'm like, oh yeah, it'll all be fine when it happens. And I tend to lose track of time also, because I get in the flow with things and I go, oh my goodness, I've only got, you know, this much time left, you know. So being really conscious of time, maybe setting alarms, things like that could be a good thing to do. But something that really I've battled with is I guess time management, self-management around, you know, being on time. They say there's on time and in time people, right? There's some people that get there 5-10 minutes early to appointments, and some people are like right on the dot. So what are your opinions on that, the timing?
Well, I think that when it comes to time, it's a pretty good idea to get an idea of what your client's value is around that. So
Uh-huh.
if the client feels that on time is 15 minutes early, then you need to honor 15 minutes early if you want to make a really good impression. But if the client is a person, if you're the person who values 15 minutes early and the client is a person who is going to come just scooting onto the Zoom just at that last second, well, then, okay, I need to give grace. I can't, if I want to have a build rapport with that client, then it's not going to be a good idea to give them a lecture about, hey, you just barely made it by the skin of your teeth, and to me that's late. It's not going to win you any favors. But always be aware of what the other person's style is, because and weigh it too. How big a deal breaker is it? Because if time is something, if the person not recognizing the value of time the same way that you do, if that's going to be a deal breaker for you, if that is something that is like your number one criteria,
Yes.
then if the other person doesn't, if you're not congruent, then maybe they're not the client for you. Because the little pebble in your shoe, when Aldwyn, I know you came back from the beach, the little sand bits in the bottom of your sandal, when you're walking
Yes.
back from the beach, they don't feel like much. But if you walk a mile and then another mile, that those little pebbles of sand are going to start to feel like boulders, and you're going to hate your life.
Yes.
It can be the same.
Yeah, absolutely. That's gold, because I must say I've been very much sort of like, rushing in the last minute sort of person for a lot of my life, or that's kind of how I've done life often. And I think part of that is I've been addicted to adrenaline. I think as a journalist for many years, I've had this sort of adrenaline lifestyle, rush, 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 and I just try and fit as much in as I can into life. And so sometimes when people arrive early for me, it annoys me, because it's like, hey, I've still got 5 minutes, I can get stuff done in that 5 minutes when someone's turned up early, so that can happen too. So it's a bit of a fine balance. But I think the main thing is actually to be able to communicate it. And like, I'm being honest right now and saying, I know I've had issues with time management, right? Which is actually self-management, which is actually being conscious of the time, because time is a construct that we've invented anyway, really. Like when you're in the heart and above energetically, time and space disappear. Right. So it's actually a human construct. It's like this game of life we're playing around time. And interestingly, we're talking about how to generate leads like a rock star. Well, this is a really important thing, because for example, if you're someone, Brenda, who say is 15 minutes early on appointments, right, and I rush in at the last minute, that could really annoy you, and you may actually think twice before you refer someone to me, because you might think, oh, Aldwyn's not organized, blah blah blah. You might like this could be a conversation going on in your head, and of course you're not going to say that straight to me, because we're doing an interview, and then if you sort of start an argument, we might not go ahead with the interview. But now here we are. So here we are having a chat about this, and it's something for those watching. If you can talk about your stuff and realize, hey, no one's perfect, and we're all doing the best we can. And I think some people get very upset when you're late. They actually take it's very disrespectful, and you can actually lose deals over it potentially. In fact, I used to online date for a long time, and once I turned up late for an appointment, and with this guy, and it was a dinner appointment, a date, and he ended up leaving. I got there, and then he was gone. I was like, oh, what happened there? And he got so offended by it. He actually, that dinner date didn't happen because I was late. And he was obviously he was obviously an early person, right? So, and even though I communicated, he was still really upset about it. So,
and there's another piece to the time too. Once you get together in the room, I sometimes get so enthusiastic about sharing information because I have so much to tell you. There's so much that I want to share with you, that I say, okay, we booked a half an hour meeting, but yes, the half an hour comes and goes, and I'm still going on because I have lots more to tell you, and I think I'm helping you, and I think I'm doing something wonderful for you. But meantime, you're kind of doing one of these and going, when's she going to be done? I have another meeting. I have this next, I'm supposed to meet my husband for dinner, or my husband just made dinner, or I have to pick the kids up from hockey, you know, and those things can really irritate. So a tip around that is that when you start your meeting, regardless of whether you started it on time, late, or early, when you start your meeting, check in with the other person and say, how much time, even if you know, like you had a half an hour, you scheduled an hour, ask how much time did you allocate for this meeting? Now, if they
Mm.
say, oh, I allocated an hour, or oh, I've got all day, but you only have the half an hour because you booked it for a half an hour, then set the expectation. Well, that's it's I'm so glad that you want to spend this much time with me, but I have a half an hour because I have a next appointment, or I have a
Mm.
commitment, another commitment, because that's going to impress them with the fact that you're a person who honors your commitments too.
True. And in fact, today we started a little bit after the scheduled time. And I did check in with you. Said, Brenda, we're going to go for about an hour. Is that okay? And you said, yep, no problem. We're all good. Right. So it's good that I checked that before the interview rather than go for an hour and then it eats into your next appointment, etc. So, communication, everything can be resolved with communication. Now, Brenda, I'm curious. Are you one of these people that arrives 15 minutes early, or what's your time habits?
No, I'm not, Aldwyn.
Oh, yeah.
I'm one of those people that just barely shows up usually. In
Right,
fact,
right,
my husband is the 15 minutes early guy. If you're not
right,
15 minutes early, you're late. And
right.
so if I'm sitting in the living room and he says, you told me you had a meeting at 8 o'clock. And I'm like, yeah, well, it's a quarter to 8. And he's like, yeah, you should be in there getting your Zoom turned on, getting your lights all set. Don't you want to make sure that everything is just right and that you look good on camera and
Yeah.
that the lights aren't reflecting? And I'm like, yeah, that'll all come together.
Yeah.
It'll be okay. But it's the different personalities.
Yes, yes. And I must say my dad was always one of these 15-minute early kind of people, right? He was always, and he was in the army for 2 years. So there they had to be very disciplined. He was in the Turkish army, right? So there it was like you had to be disciplined. And they only had like 10 minutes to eat lunch. So they would just scoff their food down. So he actually learned to eat very fast in the army, interestingly, because of this habit that they only had 10 minutes to eat and they'd scoff their food. So that was obviously really bad habit there. But he was one of these 15 minutes early, and my mum was always late, right? So I sort of, I tended to go more with mum and lose track of time. Mum's very creative, and dad's the very, he was a civil engineer, so he was a very scientific sort of, the one in the family. And I must say it's something I've really been working on to actually, be more conscious of time, because I do tend to lose track of time a lot. And I do notice when I'm early, I'm really proud of myself. It's like, oh, I'm early for this appointment. Oh, wow, this is great. It's not stressful, because there's so much stress in being late. It's rush, 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 rush. It's really stressful.
Yes. Yes. And
Yeah.
another thing around all of this is the different personality types.
Mm.
So I am a student of bank code, which is personality science, which allows you to predict buying behavior. But in bank code, there are basically there are four different main personality types. And a person who is an action type, which I would think, I haven't cracked your code, Aldwyn, but I would think that one of
Oh,
your highest codes would be action.
I
Because you
love
kind of
action. Actually, Wonder Woman is my hero, and she's an action girl. So yes, there could be some action. Could definitely be, yes. In fact, I'll get the yes buzzer out on that. Yeah, this is my little yes buzzer.
Yes, baby.
I have to do 3 of them because they're all different.
Well, yes.
Yes, that's correct. I think you're right. Absolutely, Brenda.
So the thing when dealing with an action person is that if you're making a presentation, you better get to the point. Tell them what they came to know. So they don't want to know what the weather is in Canada today if they're in Australia, and they don't want to know how many kids you have, and they don't want to share how many kids they have. It's like, okay, you came to talk to me about lead generation, so talk to me about lead generation right now. How can you
Uh-huh.
solve my problem? And that's one of the personality types. But then if you're talking to someone who is a nurturing type, which is me, I want you to that's part of the building the relationship. You're gonna kind of stroke me. You want to know, do I have kids? What do I think about that? How do I feel about that? And you're willing to take the time to do that. That's two of the four main personality types, but it's just examples of
Oh, I
other
love it.
things to be aware of.
And what are the other two? Can you share because now there's the open loop there. I want to know. And thank you to all our comments coming, and I'll share some of those. Thank you, Philip. I can see you, Stephanie, Krishla. We'll come to some of your comments in just a moment. But what are the two other personality types?
So the other two personality types are knowledge. And a knowledge person wants you to give them the background. They want you to tell them the history. They want to be able to understand, like, how did you come to this point? What were the steps type thing? And then blueprint. Blueprint is the fourth one. And a person who is blueprint, they want, okay, so a big one with the blueprint person, you definitely want to be on time for a blueprint person. A blueprint person, your word is one of your biggest things. And if they feel you're breaking your word, if they feel you're not true to your word, it will be very hard to gain back a position with them as far as doing business with them, working with them. So you want to be your word. You want to give your word. You want to show them that there are protocols in place, that you want to show them those kind of things about whatever you're talking about, because that's what's important to them. Now, there can be any different combinations. See, I'm a nurturing action. So I want you to love on me and I want to love on you, but then I want to have fun. In fact, in one of my calls yesterday, I said, I don't do anything anymore that's not fun. If it's not fun, I don't want to do it. So that's sort of my action side. Let's get going. Let's zoom, right? And then
I love it. Yes, I love it. And actually, it's very similar to the DISC profile. For those who know the DISC profile personality types, the four types there, we've got D is dominance. That's a bold and skeptical one, which is, I'd say, like the action. The nurturer will be more like the influence style. This style is bold and accepting. Steadiness, the S is the cautious and accepting. Conscientiousness, that's cautious and skeptical as well. And also the wealth dynamics profile, you've got creators, you've got supporters, you've got traders, and you've got lords. And I'm like, so the supporters would be more like the nurturers, the action people would be like the creators, and then you've got your steady supporters, you've got your traders down the bottom, and then the lord people, they're the people that you don't want to be late for, as you say. They'll get very angry with you, and they're all about systems, and so really, really interesting to get your head around these different personality types. There's definitely some correlation in different personality testing. There's Myers-Briggs, there's so many different ones out there. And I think that's absolutely crucial when you're looking at who could be a good match for someone, right, when it comes to attracting leads, and who you could refer to someone, because you could refer a nurturer to a what were the ones called on the other side? The ones like the lords, the ones that you don't want to be late for. What are they called again?
the blueprint.
The blueprint people, right? So you could put a nurturer with a blueprint person, which would actually be probably perfect in business, because they would have two of the nurturers would be great promoters, and the blueprint people would be great on the back end doing the systems, but they may not necessarily gel personality wise, right? So so this is something to consider as well, because we like to hang out with people like us, right?
Yes. And if anybody is curious, it takes 90 seconds or less to crack your code with Bank. And I have a link. It's not one of the ones I gave you, Aldwyn, but if anybody messages me, connects with me through Facebook or through LinkedIn, if you would like to know what your personality code is for Bank, I can send you the link to crack your code, and then you'll get a report that's going to tell you about your buying behavior. And you can then compare that with other people's buying behaviors.
Oh, I love that. That is fantastic. And I just want to say a quick shout out. Thank you to everyone who's joining us here on the live interview we're doing here today. For those who joined us, let us know where you're joining us from. Whereabouts in the world are you? We've got Krishla here. Now, Krishla says, thank you, ladies. Sales has a powerful teaching inside it for all of us, right? Both selling and buying. Would you agree? Oh, that's a good question there, Krishla. What do you think about that one, Brenda?
I think that selling and buying are both it's like the yin and yang, right? It's the two sides of the coin, but they are both powerful, and they both can be packed with a lot of recordings, of previous recordings, and of stories. You can have stories. So your story can be that nobody ever bought you anything when you were young, that you were always the last. So that could have an influence on what you're doing now as an adult. So nobody bought me anything when I was a kid, so I'm going to buy everything for myself, and I'm not going to worry about anybody else. I'm just buying for me. It's a pleasure thing. But then the person who sees that they grew up very well off, and their parents, they never lacked for anything, their parents always gave them everything, that person, when they become a parent, they're going to want to make sure that their children don't lack as well. So there's a lot of stories that we tell ourselves, and the stories are both on the buying side and on the selling side. On the selling side, if you believe that you can't convince people of anything, if you believe that people don't listen to you, then you're not going to enjoy selling, because people need to listen to you in order for you to sell. If you believe that you have to always be right, you're probably not going to enjoy selling, because it's going to become a really assertive, really pushy, my way or the highway type conversation. And a lot of people will walk away from that.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's interesting to notice your buying habits. Back to this is a really good point here, Krishla, because I've noticed more recently that I have had a habit of putting thousands of dollars into courses. Now, I am a big believer in personal development, business development. However, I have realized that I've had a habit of just throwing thousands here and thousands there, and I don't necessarily need all those things right now. And I've thought to myself more recently, well, why have I joined all these different programs? Why was I involved in so many direct selling organizations over the years? And I realized it's because I never felt I belonged growing up. I never felt I just wanted to belong to all these different groups. I just wanted to feel part of the community, because I felt like such a black sheep growing up. And I know a lot of entrepreneurs are like the black sheep out there, right? With the rebels, with the change makers, etc. And so noticing that as well, getting conscious to your spending habits. And another thing I know with my mum, when I grew up, when we used to go shopping together and we'd buy things and I'd get so excited. And so I developed a bit of a habit to also buy more than I needed as well. And it made me feel good. You know, it was retail therapy, some people call it, right? So that's another thing, to notice your habits around that and what could be behind that, because most people have some version of I don't belong, I'm not loved, I'm not good enough, something like that in the background running the show. And just notice, like being an overachiever, being a high achiever is like trying to prove that I'm good enough, right? So that's been another thing. And sometimes the trap with that is that no matter how much you do, it's not enough. Right. So actually getting that as well. So that's a really, really good, and we could dig really deep in that. Is there anything else you want to say about that point before we go to the next one?
Mine can be around the overspending side of it, Aldwyn, where I'm like my sister last year for Christmas, she said, we're not doing Christmas stockings for everyone. We're only doing them for the little kids. And I was like, no, everybody has to get a Christmas stocking. And
Yes.
so I just went, I'm buying stockings for everyone. I'm filling stockings for everyone. I'm going to spend the money, because that way they know how much I care. I'm showing them how much I care. And it's not necessarily the case, right? They don't measure my caring by how much the price tag was on the gift. They measure my caring, was it thoughtful? Was it a thoughtful gift? Is it going to be meaningful? You know, is it something that you're going to want to keep, and not something that's, you know, the regift gift? It's not going to turn into the regift gift. So it's always a struggle in our family, trying to look at the two sides of that.
Yes. And, you know, just because we're older doesn't mean we can't enjoy these things like Christmas stockings, you know. And that's the thing. A lot of people get way too serious in business, in life. You know, we need to bring more joy back, I think. I think that's really where it's at. In fact, on that point, I just want to point out Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness, which I just live by this nowadays. And you will find this diagram in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. Now, this diagram here talks about when we get into joy, when we love what we do, we are vibrating as human beings way up here. We are at 540 hertz when we are in joy. So you're either in life, you're either going to be expanded or you're going to be contracted. And this all ties in with your energy centers. This is all scientifically proven. It's not woo-woo. Okay. And they say love and above, love and above. So we are, Dr. Hawkins scale of consciousness, it was proven many years ago that we are 99.9% energy, frequency, vibration as human beings. And when we get into different emotions, we vibrate at different frequencies. So love is at 528 hertz. Joy and gratitude are also at the same here. Gratitude, whenever you're grateful for anything in life, you're vibrating here at 540. Peace is above that at 600. And then enlightenment is the very highest vibration we'll feel as human beings. Whereas when we're in fear, down here, and this could be around leads, it could be around sales. When we are in fear, we are vibrating at 100 hertz. When we're in grief, we're at 75 hertz. Now, most of the world is vibrating down here right now, okay? And no matter what goes on in the world, I say there's always something we can be grateful for. Down here, your very lowest vibration, apart from being dead, is shame, is going to be 20 hertz here. If you have shame over anything, grief, here is at 30 hertz. So this is absolute gold. Dr. Hawkins' scale of consciousness. Check it out in the Conscious Community Global Facebook group. It will blow your mind. And that's why when you said you just do what you love to do, Brenda, that is the secret. And in fact, Bob Proctor has a video on YouTube where people ask him, how do you find your purpose? And his answer was, do what you love every single day. Do as much as you can of what you love. That is the secret. Full stop. A third of us are dead by 65. So you may as well enjoy what you're doing. And if you're not enjoying it, then let it go, outsource it, or, find things that you enjoy doing and do more of it. That's the trick, Brenda, I believe.
Yes, I agree completely with that. It's there is a bit of a trade-off sometimes, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I have to do some paperwork. I don't really like doing paperwork.
Yes.
But if I schedule that paperwork and I say, okay, so I'm going to spend an hour on the paperwork. And then once the hour on the paperwork is done, I'm going to do this thing that I absolutely love doing. Then that's going to bring me back up in my vibration. I'm going to be back up there where I just love doing my job, where I just love, because then it doesn't feel like work anymore.
Yeah, I get it. And I must say paperwork is my weakest link. I hate doing paperwork and I hate the accounts. And however, I could take on a bookkeeper and I could take on someone to organize my paperwork, right? Eventually. And not everyone, has that kind of luxury initially. Maybe you don't have the finances for that initially. But I think the goal ideally is to, as much as possible. I mean, if you feel like you need to do it now, we'll do it to a point until you can afford to get someone to do it for you so you can stay in your lane and you can focus more on being in flow with what you love doing.
And there are different ways to do it too, Aldwyn. You don't necessarily have to hire somebody. If you can find students who need those hours for student placements, who need those hours for volunteer hours, and you can give them opportunities within your workplace to show that they're learning some skills and they're helping you with things that you really don't enjoy doing, then that's great. It's the same thing if someone wants to train under you, if someone wants to learn how to do what you do, and you're going to teach them all the fun stuff. Well, they do need to learn how to do some of the not so fun stuff too, so they can take a share of that not so fun stuff, and at least that's off your plate.
Yes, absolutely. That is gold. Now, Krisha's got another comment here. What if we could give them the answer in the asking that sounds like a huge amount of transparency to share? What if we could give them the answer in the asking? Oh, okay. So by asking questions, you give people the answer. That sounds like a huge amount of transparency to share. Okay. So giving people the answer in the question. So the questions, the quality of your life is a direct reflection of the quality of your questions. So how important are asking the right questions when it comes to lead generation?
Oh, I think that the right questions are, that's the very starting point, right? You don't ask somebody. So if I meet with somebody who lives next door to me, I'm not going to ask them what the weather was like today. That's not the
Mm.
first question. That's not a door opener. It's not going to be a rapport builder. It's not going to do any of those things. They're going to go, "Well, what do you mean? We live right next door to each other." But if you can ask questions, and it's not necessarily, I don't think what Krishna is saying is that you have to know the answer when you ask the question. But I think if you have kind of a mission, or if you are trying to help them to see something, if you can ask your questions in a way that as they answer the questions, they're going to see, it's going to create that aha moment. It goes back
Mm.
to the idea of that person who says, I can't sell. And they say, I can't sell, I can't sell, I can't sell. If I ask them questions that help them to see that they're selling people on things every single day.
Mm.
If you are married and you want steak for dinner and your husband wants chicken, one person's got to sell the other person, right?
Yes,
That's a sales conversation,
that's true.
right? If you want to go to the movies and he wants to stay home and watch the football game, that's a sales conversation.
That's true. Whether we have sex tonight is a sales conversation.
Yes,
Or in the
exactly.
morning. Do we discuss, are we going to do it in the morning or are we going to do it at night?
Exactly.
Yes, sometimes it's a bit of give and take.
So yeah. And sometimes the way that you ask your questions is kind of tilted a little bit to what you're trying to get them to see, right?
Mm.
If we're debating whether it's chicken or steak, and he's saying steak, and I remind him that steak always gives him a stomach ache,
Uh-huh.
he might go, oh yeah, I really don't enjoy having a stomach ache. So I
Mm.
am selling him on the idea that there are more positives to chicken than there are to steak.
Yes. Yeah.
It's more positive to go out for dinner than it is to cook.
Yes, and it's what's in it for me, right? What's in it for him? So actually selling him on why it would be beneficial for him
Yeah,
not to have steak, and meanwhile, it's win-win because you're getting the chicken.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, fantastic. Love that. We've got Philip here. Hello, Philip. Good to see you from on LinkedIn right now. Thanks for the reminders. Thanks for the clean communications. Nice work. Pleasure, pleasure. Stephanie's here. Hello, Stephanie. I love the idea of touching base on expectations at the beginning of meetings to put people at ease and be transparent. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Stephanie. That is fantastic.
And that's the
Philip,
importance of an agenda as well. If you
yes.
review that agenda at the beginning, and it's like, okay, so these are the things we were going to talk about, right? Because then the
Yes.
other person could say yes or no.
Yeah, absolutely. And Philip's saying getting to the point is number one, actually getting straight to the point. And so Philip is probably one of these creator personalities, one of these action types. Just get straight to the point. Don't beat around the bush. I don't care about the weather in Ontario. And it's funny because I don't normally ask people about the weather, but for some reason today I asked about the weather. So we flow with the conversation here at Media Queen TV. You never know what's going to come out. Stephanie says, I think it's always amazing to know more about your personality. Oh, she's in Ontario and Canada as well. Oh, beautiful. Stephanie.
She's my niece.
Oh, lovely. Oh, we've got the family here. Hello, family. Hello, niece, Stephanie. Beautiful. Thanks for joining us. Philip's in Brisbane. My 4 personas are drivers, analytical, amiable, and expressive. That's interesting. I haven't heard of that one. Drivers, analytical, amiable, and expressive.
So could Philip maybe tell us what system those come from? Because it would be something to research.
Sure. He's put here, my number one before to sales meeting, make sure your motivation is the same as your intention. My number one before a sales meeting. My number one before a sales meeting, make sure your motivation is the same as your intention. Actually, that's a good point. Philip, if you're still with us, if you could let us know where those 4 personas are from. Drivers, analytical, amiable, expressive. There is some crossover, like expressive would be the nurturers probably. The drivers are probably like the creators or the action people. The analytical would be the people over the blueprint people, I would imagine. So it's similar, the similar kind of just expressed in different words.
All of these have some similarities.
Mm.
the reason that I got involved with bank was because it uses the artificial intelligence for predicting buying behavior. It's specifically designed for that. So that makes it very useful. There's an artificial intelligence tool that's part of the program that if I'm doing say I was writing an email to you and I don't know
Yes.
you very well, Aldwyn, but I want it to land. I'm looking to convince you of something. I can
Yes.
actually put it through the artificial intelligence tool and it will tell me whether I'm speaking to you in your code or not.
Oh, yes, I've heard about that. What is that called? There's an app or a website. What is that?
Well, that one, the one that I'm referring to is actually it's a piece of the bank software.
Piece of the
Bank,
bank.
yeah, bank code software. And
Bank code software.
yep, you put your conversation in and it will tell you what codes you're speaking. They have I don't have high tech. They have one of those little add-on things that you can add on to your computer and it will tell you personality codes based on LinkedIn profiles as well. So you can
Oh,
it'll look at their LinkedIn profile and it'll say, okay, this one's high nurturing, high action, high blueprint. The caution there is that a lot of people have other people help them write their profiles.
ah,
So if I write your profile, I'm going to have to work hard to write it from any perspective other than my hard nurturing perspective because that's who I am. But if I'm aware that you're high action, then I'm going to try and put it through the software and put more high action words into it so it will reflect that for you.
fascinating. I love it. And so is that like a Chrome extension? I wonder if you can get.
Yes, exactly. It's a Chrome
Oh,
extension. Thank you.
Oh, brilliant. I'm gonna have to check that out because I did hear about this ages ago. I think I was at a business blueprint event or something with Dale Beaumont. He's always sharing great tech tools and I'm sure he mentioned one of these where you can just copy and you can just copy from email. You can copy a bit of text and
Yep.
put into this website
Yes.
and it'll just tell you what kind of personality, how to actually communicate with that person. And I think there's other personality profiling tools that also do this. And I can't remember names of them now, but yeah, there's that is gold. That is absolutely brilliant to actually communicate with someone in a way that they want to be communicated with while also being integrous with yourself. And I think also considering the 5 love languages, right? The 5 love languages being touch, time, gifts, acts of service, and what's the last one? Time, touch, gifts, acts of service, and words of affirmation. Words of
That's it.
affirmation. Yeah.
That's it.
So, and obviously the time people, you don't want to be late for the time people, right? So if they've got time as one of their love languages as well, they'll get even angrier. If they're a time and a blueprint person, look out. And Narelle's here. Hello, Narelle. Really enjoying this interview. I'm learning so much. Oh, well, that deserves a nice work. Nice work, Narelle. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Love it. We've got Stephanie here. It sounds like people most often make their own stumbling blocks. Self-sabotage. Yes, Stephanie, people make their own stumbling blocks. They self-sabotage. What do you think about that, Brenda?
Yeah, I would say that that's totally true. You can create the problems in your head, right? You can make something much bigger than it really is, or you can make something much scarier than it really is. This is only the second time I've ever been on StreamYard, and then
Oh,
only the second time I've ever done anything live. So I could have spent all day today saying to myself, "Oh, what if I say the wrong thing?
uh-huh.
What if I don't quote the right person? What if I? Well, by the
Yes.
time I got here, I wouldn't have been hardly able to open my mouth.
Yes.
But instead, I just and I love Aldwyn. You have to repeat what you do before we go live.
Give me
Repeat.
a Y, give me an E, give me an F.
Yes. Okay. I like to have fun, as you can see. Okay, what we do before we go live, thank you for that, Brenda. What we do is that we take a few deep breaths, we roll our shoulders back, and I always say a little prayer and I say, please let me say what needs to be said. Please let me say what needs to be said. And I'm sure the right words are coming out, whether it's the weather in Ontario or whether it's talking about issues around not belonging, whatever it is, this is all very relevant to this conversation.
It is, because you can study a person's personality. You can look at all of these things. You can view their profiles. You can do all of this studying, and you can work yourself into such a twist that when you actually get in front of them, you won't be able to do anything. So I believe that it's a fine balance. Yes, you want to know a little bit about the person, and particularly when you're meeting somebody for the first time. But you don't stress yourself so much that it has to be perfect, that it has to be exactly the right words, because exactly what needs to be said is what's going to be said. And when the call ends, there's no point in going, oh my goodness, I wish I had told them, why didn't I say? Because they found out what they needed to know.
And I must say, look, there's times that conversation comes up for me, like just on the weekend I was in Sydney, actually at the Business Blueprint conference, and there were hundreds of people in the room, and I got up on stage and I shared my successes, and I thought, and I came off and I thought, I forgot to mention this, right? And I noticed myself saying, I was like, I forgot to mention this about the Global Good News Challenge. And so what I did is over the period of the conference, I made sure I got back on the mic and I mentioned the Global Good News Challenge, right? So, that's the thing, is if something comes to your mind, you think, I wish I mentioned it. Well, there's other ways you can share it. You can share it in the Facebook group with that group. And so I thought, okay, there's a reason that's come to my mind. So rather than beating myself up about it, like, I forgot to say, like sabotaging myself, don't let perfection get in the way of progress is a great saying. Don't let perfection get in the way of progress. And I know as a high achiever, and I know there'll be many high achievers here joining us, right, that we tend to have this perfectionist thing, and it's just self-sabotage. Just take imperfect action, right? Imperfect action. So, yeah, I love this conversation. Now, Jane is with us. Hello, Jane, all the way from Texas, from Bourne, Texas. Oh, I've never heard of Bourne. There you go. But I hope I'm saying it right. But how would you say that in Canadian? Bourne?
I think it would be Born. I'm not sure.
Borny, Texas. Sorry, I got here late. That's okay, Jane. You're obviously one of these in-time people like myself. Philip sounds like a form of disc of what he was talking about. Okay, here's Philip here. He says, yes, definitely crossover. These are just mine to identify any challenges, if anything. And yes, Sammy's is same as Brenda has. I'm expensive analytical blend. Expansive. Is expensive? Expensive analytical blend. If I got that right, expressive. He must mean expressive. I think that's a typo. Expressive analytical blend, just like Brenda. I'd say Brenda is a driver analytical. Okay. Interesting. Okay. And Stephanie says, love you two ladies together. Thank you, Stephanie. That's lovely. Well, I'm loving this conversation as well. Obviously, we're both expressive, so we love to express ourselves, as you can see here. And Jane says, it's Bernie, not Born. Okay, there you go. Or Bernie. Oh, that's how you say it. Bernie. Okay, like this. Bernie for the slow ones amongst us. Bernie. Okay, great. Thank you, Jane. We now know about Bernie in Texas. There you go. Not Born. It's not Born identity. It's Bernie. Thank you, Jane, for clarifying from Texas. And I'm sure you'd say it in your American accent, which is probably Bernie.
And you're here. And Jane, you're here to hear exactly what you need to hear. So the first part of it, maybe you didn't need to hear.
Yes, exactly. And hey, you can always go back and watch the replay. That's the beauty of this too. It will be up on Media Queen TV on YouTube. We're streaming to LinkedIn. We're streaming to Facebook right now. Now, any other tips, Brenda, back on the topic here? Any other tips on how to generate leads like a rock star?
So we've covered a lot of them, because communication, listening. Oh, when you book a getting to know you call, I book two kinds of getting to know you calls. If I am booking a call where I say, Aldwyn, I'd like to get to know you, and you accept that call, I am going to, when you get in the room, I'm going to say hi. I'm going to thank you for being there, but then I'm going to shut up and let you talk. I may ask a few questions if you stop, or if you stall, or if I need clarification, but it is your show, because I said I wanted to get to know you. If I have something that I feel can help you, if I call you and I say, Aldwyn, I heard you sharing this and I think I may have a solution. Would you like to book a one-to-one? Then when you show up, you need to know that I'm going to do more of the talking. I'm going to feed back to you what I heard you say. And then I'm going to say, this is the solution I think would help you. So too often I see people who come on a getting to know you call, and then they get frustrated because they think that it should be a 50-50 split.
Uh-huh.
No one is going to win in that 50-50 split. You're both trying to convince each other of something. The other thing is, getting to know you is not the time to getting to sell you.
Mm-hmm.
If you're getting to know me, you are sharing stuff. Yes, you can share your business. Yes, I want to know what your business is. I want to know what your product is. I want to know how you do business. But it is not really the time for you to say to me, and I have this perfect pen and it'll write perfectly for your hand and it's only $27.95. How many of them would you like today, Aldwyn? It's not the right time. Not on that first call. Now, there are some action people out there who are probably frantically grabbing their keyboards and going, oh, no, get to the point. Tell me how much the pen is. I want to buy it.
Yes.
But you've got to consider what the purpose is of the call. You've got to know that the intention that we talked about earlier, setting the intention, knowing what the agenda is, setting the intention. It's going to be this much time, and I want to know about you. Those things are very, very important.
Yeah,
great
point.
And there are some traps too. Don't get trapped into saying, if you don't want to buy what the person's got, I usually, when I'm booking, particularly when I'm booking a getting to know you with someone who's in direct sales, I say, look, I am not buying. I want to get to know you for the purpose of seeing who I know that could benefit from what you have. Are you still interested? The other thing I always am transparent about, I am not recruitable. You cannot recruit me. Don't think that if you use the right technique, you will, because that's only going to turn me off. So I think both parties need to be very transparent about things like that. If somebody asks you for a call, and you say, okay, well, I'll listen to you because I want to know what you do, because I might know somebody, then that's good. But don't let them believe you're buying if you're just listening, if you're just looking. And the last piece around that is the idea of telling people, oh, let me look for a referral for you. I do not tell people that's not my job. In fact, that's what I tell them. It is not my job to look for referrals for you. If I know somebody, if I have somebody already in my directory, because I have a very big directory, if I have someone in my directory who needs what you are offering, I will be glad to do an introduction, but I am not looking for leads for you. People come to me because I say I work in lead generation. They say, oh, are you going to generate leads for me? If you think about that, if I take the job of generating leads for Aldwyn, I'm not going to be able to generate leads for any of the rest of you, or I will have a finite number of people that I can generate leads for. But if I say I will teach Aldwyn and all the rest of you on the call how to generate leads, then I can help you all. So I try and be very transparent about that as well. So whatever you are doing, be transparent in what your agenda is on that too.
Yeah, I love that. And if you just happen to be on a get to know you call with an action person who just wants to know how much it is there and is ready to buy, then of course, you meet people where they're at. I guess if they want to buy there and then, and they're really, like if someone has a call with me and they're ready for PR right now, and if I don't give them that solution, they're going to go somewhere else, right? So if someone's asking, of course, you give it to them. And I think this is a big thing with sales, is actually asking the right questions so that you actually draw out of people where they're at and what they want. Where are you at now? What do you want? What's the gap in between? And am I the right person to work with you, or is it someone else I can refer you to right now? I think that's the essential shell of a conversation. Would you say, Brenda, or is there more you'd add in that?
The only thing I would add to that would be that it's good to have some kind of a call to action, But your call to action doesn't have to be, do you want to buy the pen? Your call to action can be, who do you know who might like to buy this pen?
Yes.
And one of the big things about that one is it's a pressure release. I'm saying to you, Aldwyn, I'm not selling you the pen. It's not right for you. But do you know anybody it might be right for? You told me you wanted a purple pen, and this pen is red. It's not the right pen for you. But do you know anybody who needs a red pen?
Yes, asking that question.
When you relieve that pressure, and I've learned, actually, there's a technique that I can teach people that takes that even a step further. Someone who is a no, this is a teaser for you. I'm not going to give you the full solution here, but someone who is a no can also be one of your best testimonials. And I can teach you how to get that. It's one of the things I teach.
Love it. That is brilliant. Gosh, there's so much we could chat about. I can't believe we've been going for an hour already, Brenda. Can you believe this?
No.
That is insane. I do want to know more about this Women of Worth. Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, the amazing Sherry Leopold created a program called Women of Worth. And you could self-nominate or you could be nominated. I was nominated as a Woman of Worth for 2022. So I've been interviewed. There's an interview available on Facebook. There's an interview available on the Women of Worth website. If you go to the Women of Worth website, you can find my interview that I did with Sherry Leopold. She also did a book for us. We each have our own ebook. You can get copies of our ebook. And there's a summit coming up that's going to be offered in 3 parts. The dates are September 20th, October 11th, and October 25th. All 3 days. It runs from 6:30 till 9 Central Time. And you're going to hear from many of the Women of Worth speaking at the summit on topics that are important to them. So we're going to put the link in so that you know where you can go to get tickets for Women of Worth. Sherry is going to be announcing the next round of Women of Worth. So for all the ladies out there, including yourself, Aldwyn, do you consider yourself a Woman of Worth? Then
yes, absolutely.
Go self-nominate yourself. Don't wait. You don't have to wait for somebody else to do it for you. You can contact Sherry and you can nominate yourself as a Woman of Worth for 2023.
Fantastic. Well, that's brilliant because it just so happens straight after this, I'm actually going to be interviewing Sherry Leopold, would you believe, on the Total Truth Show, which I do with Ken Kleinberg from San Diego. So stay tuned for that one. We're going to be back here in about an hour chatting to Sherry Leopold. So I will be asking her about that. And I have already had a conversation with Sherry when she was on holidays. And she is an amazing lady, one phenomenal lady. So I can't wait to do that. So thank you so much for that. I've put the link there into the chat. If you can't see it, we'll make sure it's in there. Sometimes the conversations don't go from StreamYard straight over to the social media platforms. So if you can't see it now, we will make sure that is in there after this. So there it is again. That is the link there. Wow. 2022.sherryleopold.com. SHERRILEOPOLD.com. And that's the link there for the summit taking place 6:30 to 9 Central Standard Time CST on September 20, October 11, and October 25. Fantastic, coming right up. Brilliant. And now you've got your selling on the spot marketplace. Can you let us know a bit more about that and who can come to that?
Yes. If you are an entrepreneur, if you are a small business owner, if you are a large business owner, if you are a coach, if you are an author, this is one of those things that if you have something to sell, you can join us at Selling on the Spot Marketplace. You get a set amount of time, 2 minutes for a vendor, 3 minutes for a sponsor. Contact me for more information on what all is involved with that. But you get to actually present what it is you do or what you have, ending with a call to action, close sales on the spot, leave the event with more money in your pocket than you came in with.
Oh, I love that. That is brilliant. There it is. sellingонthespotmarketplace.com/events, #, !calendar will take you to the upcoming events. So check that out.
So that's the events of all of the licensees. There are a number of licensees. I am one of those licensees. The founder and creator, our CEO, is Jane War, or Trainer Jane as she's known. She's the one that we owe this all to. She's created the amazing platform that you'll be going to when you see that calendar.
Fantastic. Brilliant, brilliant. We've got Jane had a bit of a laugh at our Bernie pronunciation, our born Bernie. Thank you, Jane. I'm glad you got a bit of a laugh out of that today. Philip says, yep, driver analytical is his. There we go. We knew it. So we knew it because Philip was like, get to the point. Don't tell me about the weather. It's interesting. Notice when you get triggered in life, right? And Jane says here, yes, I love that, Brenda. Be authentic in your ask. If you ask to get to know them, then listen to them. How challenging is listening for people? Oh my goodness. What are some of your tips around listening, Brenda?
Well, sometimes it can be painful if the speaker isn't following any of the rules of speaking, right? But I think the main thing I keep in mind is I told you had a half an hour. I booked my meetings for a half an hour. I told you have a half an hour, so you have a half an hour. I can help that half an hour by asking some questions as long as you let me talk. There are some people who just go and never stop. Then you can just go, oh, thank goodness the half hour's up. Sorry, I have to go now.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for sharing your information. But
yes.
In saying that, one of the things that I would suggest is that you try and still stay in the room. Don't go to the beach. Don't go to the movies. Try and stay in the room, because at the end of it, if you can pick out 2 or 3 little nuggets even that they shared, they're going to feel a lot better. And the possibility of referrals, of them saying wonderful things about you, because they haven't had that many people who listen to them in that way. So what I hear you saying is that's a really important thing to give back to people.
Yes, what I hear you saying is, and they say there's a reason we have 2 ears and 1 mouth. So we listen twice as much as we speak. And I must say, Brenda, this has been challenging for me over time too. I must say, listening. Well, people said, Aldwyn, you don't listen to me. Yeah, I'm listening to you. Wait, I've got something to say. Right. And that's the thing. Often we're listening for what we're going to say next. It's like we just want people to shut up so we can say our bit, right?
And you're so right, Aldwyn, because that's one of the really important things. If you're really listening, you're not thinking about the next thing you're going to say.
Yes.
If you're really listening, you're listening. And then even if you have to take a breath before you answer to give you a second to think about what you need to say or how you're going to respond, then that's okay. But listen when they're talking.
Yes, it's quite a fine art, isn't it? Quite a fine art. And it will definitely help in your negotiation skills, because unless you're listening, you don't know what people want, right? If you don't know what people want, you don't know what the best way is to actually refer them, whether it's to your business or someone else's business, if you're not listening. So I think, we could do a whole interview just on the power of listening and how to fine tune your listening skills. And one great tip I'll give around that is actually focus on your breath. Come back to deep breath and be present, because often we're thinking about the future, worrying about the past, right? So just be present in this moment. That is also quite a skill. The power of now, as Eckhart Tolle says, right? The power of now.
And a major tip I heard from somebody, actually I saw it on a podcast, take this thing and turn it off before you start your conversation with someone. It doesn't mean anything that you put it on the table face down. It doesn't mean anything if you let it ring and glance at it. It still means that you're not fully present for what's happening. If you actually turn it off, you are fully present. Now, there are times when you won't be able to do that, right? If you have a family emergency, if you have something happening in your life that you have to still have that phone on, but then I would advise you, as part of that agenda that you're setting at the beginning, let the person that you're talking to know, hey, I have a situation going on. You don't have to go into a great deal of detail if you're not comfortable with it, but I have a situation going on. I need to leave my phone on, and if it rings, I will need to answer it. That way, there's no confusion. It's not, oh, how rude is she? She told me. Because if somebody says that to me, I'm going to say, oh, I hope everything is okay. And the next thing I'm going to say is, do you need to reschedule this meeting, or are you okay to do it now? So if somebody says to you, I have to leave my phone on because there's an emergency, give them the courtesy, give them the grace of saying, would you like to reschedule, or are you okay to do it now? It could mean the difference between a big sale and no sale.
Yes. Oh, I love that, Brenda. That is absolute gold. Thank you so much for sharing that. And we've got Ken with us, Ken Kleinberg, who's the co-host of the Total Truth Show. Just catching the end of this, he says, love what I'm hearing. Go, Brenda. He says, go, Brenda. Excellent. Fantastic. Thank you for that, Ken. And Ken and I will be interviewing Sherry Leopold straight after this very shortly. You'll be seeing that interview in about an hour's time on the Total Truth Show. We'll be coming back here. Brenda, it's been such a pleasure chatting with you. I could just keep on chatting with you and listening to your beautiful accent. However, we must wrap up now. I am very conscious of time.
Aldwyn, could I make a quick offer to all of our listeners?
Absolutely. Yes.
Any of you who are interested, there's a signature item that I do. I provide a lead generation strategy session. In that session, what we do is I collect information on everything you're doing now. I go away, I review that information. We book a second session. We get back together. I give you results, and I guarantee you one new lead generation strategy, or I refund your money. That costs $49.95. But if it's every penny well worth it. If you're interested, my contact information is available.
Fantastic, Brenda. What a great offer. Well, you can't go wrong with that one. So definitely reach out. And the best place for people to reach you, we've got your calendar link here. I'll just pop that there into the comments.
Thank you,
Here
Aldwyn.
we go. You can book directly with Brenda for a good time. Call Brenda. No, not for well, I mean, I'm sure you'll have a good time too, but it's not that kind of good time because she is married, right? She is married. You must be respectful. Unless, of course, she doesn't want to be married, in which case that's another conversation. But I'd say you're very happily married, aren't you, Brenda?
Very happily, yes, very happily.
We love you, hubby. Thank you for all the help in the background there. Oh, well, not we love you. You love him. I mean, I actually don't know your hubby, and I have a boyfriend anyway, and I'm very happily with my partner, and that was a total sidetrack. So coming back to this conversation. I have an overactive mind. So it's been absolute pleasure once again, Brenda. Any final words you'd like to share before we wrap up today?
Whether you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And that applies to everything from sales to weight loss to climbing a mountain.
Yes. Oh, thank you so much, Brenda. Absolute gold. I've loved this conversation today. And for those joining us, please let us know in the chat there. What have you got out of this conversation today? What have you got? And is there an action you are going to take from today from this conversation? Like perhaps listen more, right? That could be something you could take on from today. Please pop in the chat. Let us know. What did you get and what action are you going to take from today? If you've enjoyed today's show, please share the love. Make sure you subscribe to Media Queen TV as well. We've got over 800 videos there now. Can you believe it? I've been at this for quite a few years now. Over 800 inspiring interviews on there that you will love. You can check out all my links here at linktree/Aldwyn, linktr.ee/Aldwyn. I've also put the link in here for the Conscious Community Global Facebook group that will also blow your mind. We have featured in there at least 10 life-changing documentaries, including the Thrive documentaries, Out of Shadows, Samadhi, Seaspiracy, What the Health. There are so many mind-blowing documentaries that once you see even one of these documentaries, you will not look at life the same way again. And so if you dare, go into that group and check out some of the things featured in there. Also, I encourage you to participate in the Global Good News Challenge. We've got the September challenge starting very soon. It's actually starting on Monday, the first Monday of the month. We start the Global Good News Challenge every month. And this is your way you can share gratitude and good news. Everyone who does a Global Good News Challenge, we share it out to heaps of people, thousands of people, in fact. fact. And you also get a free ticket to the Free Publicity Secrets Masterclass, where I teach you how to go from being the world's best kept secret to being a star through free publicity in TV, radio, print, online media. So check that out there. The Global Good News Challenge Facebook page, pinned to the top, you'll see all the details on how to participate. Please make sure you hashtag Global Good News Challenge when you do it so we can find your challenge. You might want to do a live video on LinkedIn. You can do it on Facebook. You can do it on YouTube, wherever you want to do it. It's all about sharing gratitude, good news, lifting the energy on the planet. Yes. Yes. Lifting the energy. Yes, that's right. Yes. Lifting the energy on the planet. That's what we need right now. We're going to bring people up from fear to love and above. Love and above. So help me God. I am so grateful to be with you here today. Thank you so much, Brenda. It's been such a pleasure. Thank you so much for being an amazing guest here today. And please stay connected for those joining us. And we've got some more comments here. What have we got? Oh, Brenda. Ken says here. Okay, Ken's going, Brenda, I hope when I connect with you on our first call I hope when I connected with you, I didn't talk too much.
Not at all, Ken.
There you go. Oh, excellent. That's great. Ken.
And,
yeah, Ken loves to chat.
And for those of you watching, you should check out Ken's Facebook and his tips and that he posts. Fact or fiction. Go see the fact or fiction that he shares.
Yes. And Patriot Fat Fighter Ken also has his own podcast, which is mind-blowing. He is someone who lost 22 kilos, and I can't remember what he said that is in pounds, but a lot of pounds, and he's kept it off over 5 years. He's kept all of that off. He's phenomenal. So Ken is such a gem and fantastic to co-host Total Truth Show with Ken, which if you stay tuned, don't go away. We'll be back. We'll be back with more content soon. And yes, he's extraordinary. Anything else you want to say, Brenda?
It's not a diet.
Oh, it's not a diet.
Ken doesn't put them on a diet.
He doesn't put people on. Look, 62.5 pounds, 22 kilograms. Insane. And kept it off for 5 years. That's the big thing, I think, because a lot of people, we yo-yo diet. And I know I've been a yo-yo dieter. I've put on 10 kilos, lost 10 kilos, because that's comfort zone. We go up 10%, down 10%. And here we are. Ken has kept it off. So if you want to know his secrets, well, stay tuned or check out Patriot Fat Fighter Ken. And the podcast is amazing as well. He's got some awesome stuff in there. So brilliant, Ken. Can't wait to connect with you very soon. And such a pleasure. Once again, Brenda, we had better wrap up now, I guess. Any final words?
Look forward to seeing you all at Selling on the Spot Marketplace.
Yes, excellent. So check it out. We've got the link there, sellingонthespotmarketplace.com. Fantastic. Thank you so much once again, Brenda. As Gandhi says, be the change you wish to see in the world. And as I say, shine bright and light up all those around you. Thank you so much for joining us today. Wherever you are in the world, have a beautiful day or night, and we will see you back here again soon. Bye for now.